This week's question comes from Sunny Australia. Would like to hear your biblical perspective of the enforcement of the COVID vaccine and if this is something we as Christians should be against. There are very mixed opinions within the church community. Yeah, this is a big decision that we're all going to have to make very soon, whether to take this vaccine or not. So let's get into it. I guess the first thing I need to say is that the Bible doesn't have any specific verses about vaccination, so I wouldn't say this video is a biblical perspective as such. This is just my own take on the situation. You know, sometimes Paul would write letters and make it clear that what he was saying was coming directly from God. Like in Galatians 1:12, he says that what he's writing comes direct from Jesus Christ. But other times though, like in 1 Corinthians 7:25, he makes it clear when he doesn't have a direct command from God, when he's just giving his own perspective on an issue. And this video comes under the second of those headings. This video is just my own personal perspective on the issue, my own take on the issue, for what it's worth. I guess what I'm saying is that if you have a different perspective on this, it's okay. It won't come between us, we're still friends. Now, the next thing I should talk about is my own particular character or mindset or leaning when it comes to things like this in general. I need to give you that context. In general, I don't like putting man-made chemicals into my body unless I absolutely have to. In fact, I'm the type of person that doesn't even take a paracetamol or an ibuprofen unless I absolutely have to. If I've got a headache, I'll just try to ride those out as much as possible. I'll only take a pill if it's a really bad migraine. Sometimes get hay fever quite bad in the summer too, but again, I'll only take an antihistamine if I'm really struggling with it. So that's just my character, my own personal bias when it comes to things like this. And I think it's important to let that be known that I do have this natural aversion or bias here against man-made pills and chemicals and potions. It's just the way that I'm built, and it's something to bear in mind as you watch this video. I guess I just feel like humans are sometimes not very good at being able to see the big picture of what they're doing and understanding the side effects of their actions at times. For example, at one time, humans thought using asbestos in buildings was a great idea, and it did fulfill the function that they wanted it to. But then later they discovered there was this unknown side effect going on, and it was actually giving everyone cancer. At one time, doctors thought using mercury as an antiseptic and to treat skin diseases was a great idea, and again, it did fulfill that purpose. But then later they discovered a side effect that it was actually poisoning all of their patients. Humans just often make flawed things. That's my take on it. So my concern with a vaccine is not that there are these evil people out there deliberately trying to kill me or trying to do their worst against me. I'm not really into the conspiracy theories here, if I'm honest. My concern is just that there are good people out there trying to do their very best, but that in doing their best, they're often not aware of the side effects or long-term consequences of their actions. I also feel like God has put natural defenses into our body too, and the body's pretty capable of taking care of most situations by itself. So if it can work itself out naturally, I would rather let it. Now, some people will say I'm being silly here, and I may be, but as a general principle in life, I just don't like taking pills and chemicals unless I absolutely need to. Now, don't get me wrong here. I am very thankful for modern medicine and for science. I'm very thankful that these pills exist for when things get really bad, and I will take them if necessary. I will take an ibuprofen if I've got a bad migraine. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer either. I'm not inherently opposed to the idea of helping the body to fight diseases. It's just that I have an instinctive caution to involve myself with those things as little as I possibly can and not to take them unnecessarily. My dad was like this too, so I probably got this from him. So when it comes to the coronavirus vaccine, and you probably guessed where I'm going with this, I don't want the vaccine. Not because of any conspiracy theory, and I know there are lots of them out there, and you'll have to make up your own mind about what to believe about those at the end of the day. But my reasons for not wanting it are just that I don't like injecting my body with man-made chemicals if it's not necessary. That's all. And given the nature of coronavirus, I just don't think it's necessary. I think it's a mild thing in most people. There's a very high recovery rate. I'm in a low-risk category. I'm not in that older bracket. I don't have any underlying health conditions. So I just don't feel like it's necessary. Now, you may have a different perspective. You may be in a different category. I know many Christians who actually really do want this vaccine, and if you're keen to have it, you know, fair play to you, go ahead. At the end of the day, we all have to make an individual choice about this based on the information that we have and based on our own personal circumstances. And that's basically my message on the vaccine as a whole. If you want it, take it. If you don't want it, don't take it. It's a personal choice. And I'm all for that. I'm all for individuals being able to make their own judgment calls about their own lives. That's the nature of living in a free society. That's the nature of being a free individual. Everyone being able to take responsibility for their own decisions and plot their own course through life. Take it or don't take it. It's completely up to you. And that leads neatly on to the fourth and final point. There are rumours that it won't be a personal choice left up to the individual. There are rumours that it may be enforced upon people by governments of the world. And that's really what the question was asking before. What do you think about enforced vaccinations? That's the key word. And yes, there have been some rumours that some governments might make the vaccination mandatory for all their citizens. And if so, that's where it would become something very, very sinister indeed. Forced injections takes us into the realm of fascism and authoritarianism. This would be something I think all Christians and just all people who love freedom should absolutely oppose. We can't have a society where citizens are being forced to take injections against their will. That's a dystopian nightmare if ever there was one. I don't think that will happen though. I think what's more likely to happen is that it won't be made mandatory, but we will see the introduction of health passports. And the idea will be that if you don't take the vaccine and if you don't have one of these health passports, you will effectively be shut out of full participation in society. In fact, digital health passports are already being trialled in some areas. There's already talk that some airlines won't accept passengers without a health passport. Talk that some employers might refuse to employ people if they don't have one. Talk that you won't be able to attend sports events if you don't have one. So the idea will be, okay, you don't have to take the vaccine, you don't have to get a health passport, but if you don't get your full freedom and you're effectively shut out from full participation in society. That would also set a foreboding precedent for the future. One conspiracy theory going around is that this vaccine is the mark of the beast. Now, this vaccine is not the mark of the beast. You're not going to be condemned to hell if you take this vaccine. Do not worry about it. The mark of the beast will be a visible mark on the right hand or on the forehead, and it will only come into play under a one world government, which we don't yet have. It is coming, but we don't have a world government yet, so this vaccine is not the mark of the beast. Do not worry about it. However, if people are not allowed to participate in society without the vaccine, it would set a precedent for the mark of the beast. It would be a foreshadowing. It would be a step in that direction. It would be an early echo, if you like, of something else to come. The Bible says that when the mark of the beast comes, no one will be able to buy or sell without it. In other words, some people will be shut out of participating in society unless they take this mark. Therefore, if a similar thing were to happen with this vaccine, it will be the first time that we've seen something like this happening in the world, something akin to what the Bible is describing. People being shut out from society if they don't toe a particular party line. It would set a precedent. It would be a foreshadowing, an early echo of that day to come. Remember, a technology that we've also been tracking on this channel for a while now is the data tattoo, or the e-tattoo. And we've seen how many people envisage a future where health could be tracked through this kind of technology and how payments could also be made through it. I think we can see a future coming together where digital health passports will merge with this kind of technology. So if you want to get on a plane or if you want to get inside a sports stadium, you would have to scan your data tattoo first so they know that you don't have a virus and that you've had your vaccinations. That's just a bit of speculation though. In summary, number one, this is just me talking, throwing around some thoughts. This is just my personal perspective on the issue. There are no Bible verses on vaccinations. And remember, number two, I do have a natural aversion to stuff like this. Number three, I think it's just up to the individual. We're all adults here, we're all capable of making our own decisions. If you're comfortable with it and you want to take it, take it. And if you don't want to, then don't. And it's as simple as that. Number four, enforced vaccinations or coerced vaccinations. That would be the really sinister or foreboding development in all of this. That should absolutely be resisted. We cannot be injecting people with stuff against their will. And if that were to happen, it would set a really dangerous precedent for even worse things to happen in the future. At the end of the day, there's got to be freedom for each individual person to make their own choices on this. And it's as simple as that.